What culinary hill are you willing to die on? Only edible items should be plated. Garnishes should be edible. Hate it when I see rocks and sticks on a plate. Fight me. We must be in very different tax brackets because none of the restaurants I occupy put nothing but food on my plate. Don't wear your apron into the bathroom. I've called people out for doing this. It's disgusting. This isn't a hill to die on. This should be common sense. Putting gold leaf on food is freaking stupid. I saw some finest edible gold leaf for sale in Aldi before Christmas. The ingredients were copper and zinc. If it tastes good, it tastes good. I would rather eat delicious slop in a bowl than bland garbage that looks pretty. Being poor isn't a culinary crime. It takes talent to make cheap food taste as good as my mum did. All the good stuff like barbecue and sausage comes from people trying to use the meat that's gross if you cook it quickly. Cooking and baking are different. Cooking. Let's go on an adventure and see where it takes us baking. Alright team, we have a 2-minute window to rob this bank, and if everybody doesn't nail their rolls perfectly we're all fricked. You scrape it off the chopping board with the backside of the knife. The backside. Edit. Wow. This blew up. Never had a comment with so many replies before. Let me show why I will die on this hill versus the opposing arguments. The opposing arguments I've seen below are 1. You can always sharpen your knives, which is true, and everyone should. 2. Use a bench pastry scraper. 3. That you should never have your knife's sharp edge facing you for safety reasons. For 1. Yes, you can, and should, sharpen your knives, but also, I don't see that as an invitation to intentionally dull them. And for those who don't sharpen, the reason we say this, a sharper knife reduces the risk of the blade slipping or rolling off something rather than cutting it. It's one of the bigger risks of cutting yourself in the kitchen. Dull knives responsible for more cuts than sharp ones. Imo. 2. Yes, scrapers are great tools. The hill I'm dying on here is, more accurately, don't use the sharp side, rather than the best choice is the backside. Scrapers are great tools, but not everyone has them. Everyone cutting with a knife has a knife, and if you're not going to be switching tools, you should use the backside of the knife. 3. Avoiding a sharp edge facing you is a very logical sentiment for professional chefs or people cooking in a busy environment. If they're bumped while holding it, they don't want to be cut by the sharp edge of the knife facing them. And the previously mentioned downsides, chefs don't need to worry about the maintenance of the knife if it belongs to the restaurant and or if they have other employees to sharpen them. And if you won't be eating the food you're preparing, you probably don't mind so much if you scrape little fibers of plastic or wood into the food. Unsuspecting patrons don't see what's happening in the kitchen, after all, so they don't know which side of the knife you're using. So in this sense, I see the argument as it's faster and it's safer to me. Perfectly logical. I understand the argument, but the reason this is a culinary hill I'm willing to die on is that I don't see it as the personal risk it's being made out to be, and the benefits massively outweigh that non-risk. If the chopping board is small enough to lift, you can scrape directly into the pot or pan at an angle. The chopping board will be in the non-dominant hand, or non-knife hand, diagonally to the side of the pot pan. You rotate your wrist to turn the sharp side of the blade away from you. I'm right-handed, so that's clockwise. In this way, the blade will be perpendicular to the chopping board and the sharp side of the blade will be facing away from you, basically in the direction you're facing. In this way, I don't see it as a risk. If the cutting board is flat on a counter, it sort of doesn't make a difference. I can't recall ever accidentally coming in contact with the dull edge of the knife before. So if I flip the knife, why should the blade? It falls on the ground. It sort of doesn't matter which direction the knife was facing. Just avoid it. Never attempt to catch a falling knife. Another culinary hill I think we all will die on. So to that end, chefs of the world, I do see your point about why there is personal benefit and no real downside to you if you use the sharp side. But I'm no professional chef, and hence why it's a culinary hill I will die on. It'll reduce the wear on my knives, and it'll prevent myself and my loved ones from eating plastic or wood bamboo fibers. I don't see a significant risk of rotating wrist to scrape or scoop from the chopping board. No more of a risk than simply using a knife in the first place. Anyway, this is my hill. Use the backside of the knife. OHH. Shoot. Homemade chili is almost always better the next day. If you can't drink it through a straw, it's not a milkshake. I like the places that have the extra large straws that chunks from my cookies and cream shake don't get stuck in and it can still be a little thick. Normal straws kinda suck for a milkshake. The most expensive food isn't always the best food. No, I'm not impressed by a $200 slice of pizza with its price driven up with truffle and gold flake. Bonus. Cereal or crushed Oreos on a donut isn't revolutionary. The really funny part is that the edible gold flake is actually super cheap. So the whole gold encrusted food trend is basically just taking the money out of fools' pockets. That cheap bag of frozen peas and diced carrots you get at the grocery store is an outstandingly versatile source of nutrition. And tasty too. Unless you're buying locally, frozen vegetables are often more nutritious than fresh. MSG is amazing at it. Niece and nephew. Thanks for giving me so many awards. Foo MSG stands for Make Stuff Good. Uncle Roger approves. Being snobby about food to the point where you're hindering someone else's enjoyment is not a positive personality trait. I live in the Midwest. I love the Midwest, but just because you call something a salad does not mean it is healthy and an acceptable side dish to your main course. Snicker marshmallow mayo whatever is not salad. Sue Erickson 7-layer salad is real all this time. Worcestershire sauce can work magic. A quality knife can replace 90% of your kitchen gadgets. You're missing the most important aspect of this trade. I don't want to hear that you're bad at cooking if you don't follow a recipe or measure your ingredients. You can get so far by just reading and actually do it what it says. I've found that just following instructions can be really hard for a lot of people. I mean, I'm not perfect and I've fricked it up before. But I've also run into people who are just bad at following instructions in what seems like most of their life. There's no such thing as a dry brine. By definition, brines are liquid-based. A salt-based dry rub is a cure. Brines are also a type of cure, but they are liquid-based. All brines are cures, but not all cures are brines. Calm down there. All food is fusion. No dish is above adoption or adaptation. I had an Italian-American scoff at me for mentioning kimchi carbonara and that I am ruining it by using ingredients from a different part of the world. I brought up tomatoes being a new world crop and that any Italian using them is doing the exact same thing. Life is too short to not use butter. If you are writing a recipe, write a recipe, not an autobiography. Beef Wellington is a fancy Hot Pocket. Why has Hot Pockets not capitalized on this? Breakfast is a construct. Eggs. Bacon. French toast for dinner, yes. Steak. Potatoes. Asparagus. Dinner roll for breakfast, also yes. Edit. Yes, I know breakfast means to break the fast. And it is just a word that means the first meal of the day. That's what I'm saying. The concept of certain foods just for breakfast was invented. Eat what makes you healthy and happy. When your body needs it. The moment something gets hyped as a superfood. I'm out. Edit to clarify. Superfood is a buzzword that cues bullshit incoming and rising prices. The author loses all credibility. It's the point where I stop reading and close the window. Might look up the stats for the food afterward from an actual resource such as a university's nutrition summary. Yet I'm not going to stop eating blueberries just because of the hype train. HTTUKGB for this example. Buckwheat. My mountain hometown in China had a lot of people growing it because it was mostly used as horse feed. And the husk-filled pillows. We used to eat buckwheat when the alternative food source is tree bark. That is, until white people started eating them. Suddenly buckwheat is superfood. What's more funny is that even today buckwheat is still pretty much only consumed by superfooders and horses. The only true superfood is potatoes. If you think it's enough garlic, it's probably not enough garlic. You measure garlic with your heart. Often doing things the right way or from scratch just isn't worth it. There are plenty of shortcuts that give you 90% of the result with 50% of the effort. I'll take those shortcuts just about every time. Grilling on charcoal tastes way better than propane. Hank Hill is an idiot. I am pretty sure that there's an episode where Hank goes to a burger contest or something and unbeknownst to him, is given a charcoal cooked burger which he eats and then realizes is way more delicious than propane cooked burgers, which causes him to have an existential crisis. Use salt, damn it. You can eat whatever you want, regardless of what food snobs say. Put ketchup and relish on a hot dog. Tell only mustard on hot dogs people to take a hike. You like pineapple on pizza? Me too. It's awesome. Well done steak. I don't like it. But if you do, then that's great. I like Big Macs too. Eat thing the way you want it. Ignore how other people eat. Once went on a whiskey appreciation class, basically a whiskey tasting. Dude poured like 8 whiskeys and poured a different mix into each. Baked donuts are not donuts. Donuts must be fried. Baked donuts are just small cakes, which are delicious but not donuts. Edited to clarify the exact type of donut imposter I am raging against. I will die on this deep fried and sprinkle covered hill. I feel this way about bagels that are not boiled. Instant ramen is delicious. Learning how to cut an onion is the first lesson in the cooking world. I like dipping my sushi rolls and sashimi in a soy sauce and wasabi mixture, and I don't care if it goes against proper sushi etiquette. It tastes good. That fondant is Play-Doh with sugar. Get out of the kitchen if I'm cooking. Out, I don't want your help. We need to make burgers wider, not taller. A burger should fit in your mouth and shouldn't require a stick to hold it together or cutlery to eat it. Sometimes the shooty, processed version is better than the gourmet version. Are you my daughter? Talking about $1.09 Kraft mac and cheese versus my $20. Lovingly prepared and featuring Italian pasta and expensive specialty cheese mac and cheese. Sometimes, the only seasoning you need on a steak is a good coating of salt and pepper. Plus, pan frying just might be better than grilling. Cost iron too. This is actually something I'm willing to die on. You don't need to wash your goddamn meat. If you cook it right, you kill all the bacteria you're washing. All you're doing is spreading the germs all over your kitchen sink. Wait, people wash meat in the sink? 3x the herbs called for in any recipe. We need to stop letting people put raisins where they don't belong. It's getting out of hand. Season your tomatoes, especially for sandwiches. All food is capable of either being mixed together and eaten as a pile, or put on bread and eaten as a sandwich, or both. Edit. All meals. Not literally mixing any two foods. I'm talking an over easy egg and bacon on a piece of butter toast, or cutting up grilled chicken and mixing it into my mashed potatoes and corn. Soup stew cereal is still just a pile, but in liquid.